All right. So we are live, and I'm just going to share this with you. We got a great announcement, by the way. You're going to love. And if you've ever done one of these through StreamYard or whatever, and you know that Facebook, if you set it out ahead of time, that it literally will kick the whole thing out. So anybody who got notified or wanted to see this would not see it because it would have kicked us out at the 10-minute mark. So I've got island internet. For those of you who don't know, I just moved to Puerto Rico, and I'm learning about this island internet that we have, and so I'm going to have to get a couple backup systems apparently. So I'm live. I'm early. I'm actually late, but I'm early because our guests aren't on here yet. So they're going to be joining us shortly, and they're going to be surprised to know that we're already live. But that's all good. So hang with me here. As soon as they pop in here in the back, I'll boop, 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 and we'll get started. Puerto Rico. So yeah, I get a question. Why Puerto Rico? Well, it's the Caribbean for starters. They have favorable incentives for companies here that are similar to what we do at eXp. And so yeah, there's a lot of folks living here that are doing well with eXp. Actually, it's interesting. Actually, there's a lot of Americans here, lots, with different companies that take advantage of some of the tax incentives here. One of the things. All right, here we go. All right, the man of the hour, Robert Greenblatt. How are you doing?
Hey, Jay Kinder.
What's going on? So I had a moment to make a decision. And this is like the birthday party where you make the announcement when the guest comes in, and then it's somebody else, and then they come in next or whatever. So I kind of blew the announcement because I had to go live, or we were going to lose our little spot here. But so Mary should pop in here shortly. But I was teasing the audiences that we had a big guest that's coming and joining us at eXp, and that would be you, my friend. And I'm excited about this. I know Mary's excited about it. I know you're excited about it, and I'm excited to share your story about how we got to this place. And here's Mary. So how's it going? We're live, so just so you know, I had to go live. We had that 10-minute countdown, and my island internet was not doing me any favors. So I said, well, we'll just go live, and we'll be good to go, and we'll make it work. So here we are with the announcement of the day. Mary, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing fantastic. How could I complain, right? How am I going to complain from Puerto Rico?
Really.
Right. So I would love for because I know there's a story here. I know that you guys have worked together at Keller Williams in the past and know of each other's businesses and that kind of stuff. But Mary, maybe introduce Robert and your relationship with him, over the years, and like how did this conversation start? And Robert, kind of share your story about how you found out about it and what made you decide to move your very successful real estate business over to eXp and partner with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Mary, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, I'll go first. All right. Do you guys see me? I don't see. Okay.
I wasn't hearing you, but I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't know if it was just me.
So I'm on my phone. We're having all kinds of technical issues. My computer wasn't working, so I'm using my phone, but my phone never stops ringing, so it's going to blow up the whole time. So it's okay. So we just knew each other from KW, but he was already looking at eXp, I think even before me, right, Robert?
Oh, yeah. I started looking into this over a year ago.
Before I even came over. So he called me, but we worked together. Robert was very well respected. He's been doing it a lot longer than me. We were both kind of the heads down, get the job done kind of people. So I respected him. We would mastermind a little bit, but neither of us really chit-chatting in the hallways or anything. But he's definitely respected in our industry. We all know his tagline. He's the agent that always calls you back. Anytime you mention his name, everybody knows that tagline. It's really a good one. So, Robert, why don't you just talk about how you ended up here?
Oh, yeah. So I guess, a year or so ago, I was just thinking, I've been doing this a long time, trying to figure out, what more is there, right? So I was looking for something more in what I do. I've developed a really nice business. It could always be better. No ego there at all. It could always be better. But I wanted to do something more than list and sell houses and run a team. And looked into some different models, some of the local competition, and it was like actually over probably even a year and a half ago. and just kind of my takeaway was, you know, they were all just kind of the same. It's like all these different versions of chocolate chip cookies, but they're all chocolate chip cookies, you know?
Right.
And at the time, EXP was one of them for sure. And, you know, I decided then, you know what, I'm just going to stay put. You know, Keller Williams had worked really well for me. I didn't have a problem with Keller Williams by any means, but I was just looking for something more. And I don't know what it was.
Right.
And that was like that soul searching piece of it, you know, just I knew that there had to be more for me out there in life. You know, maybe it was a little bit of a midlife crisis or something. I don't know, a little late. But so I just kind of let it go. And then, of course, 2020 was really just an odd year for everybody, right? Our lives were all impacted in so many ways. Fortunately, the real estate market rebounded furiously, but a byproduct of it was I basically moved my office home. The team was working virtually. Everything was working pretty well. And I just kept thinking, it just kept nagging at me. What, you know, there's got to be something more to listing and selling houses. So there was something inside me, and I don't even know what it was. That I said, let me re-explore eXp. Let me see what that is, because it was the only one in my mind that like stood out as having some differentiating factors. So reached out to my contact. Mary had nothing to do with this. I had kind of known that she was doing her own thing with eXp from like early on in 2020, but never even spoke to her about it at that time. Just reached out to a corporate person that I had struck up a little relationship with. And then I started to really understand the model. And it was one of those like aha moments where I go, okay, now it's kind of processing and synthesizing. So I can do what I do anywhere. I could do it at Robert Greenblatt Realty, right? Like I can do it anywhere. So I can take what I do that, keep doing that, hopefully even make it better with more exposure to some amazing agents, and then build a tremendous future with all the extra ingredients that eXp offers. That's really just an industry game changer. And I mean, that's kind of like, you know, that's a really short story. That was several months worth of thinking. And I guess a couple of months ago, Mary, I reached out to you and we just started to chat confidentially because I was comfortable enough to do that with you, of course. And then I started understanding groups and how the whole thing is structured. And then, of course, the revenue share and the stock and the icon status and all that. It all started to make sense. And I said, man, if I don't do this, I don't know what I'm missing, you know?
Right. Yeah, I love that story because I think everybody goes through it in some capacity where you would probably have said, I understand the model, but there was something missing, right? Like you still didn't see what you saw. And once you saw that, then it was like, okay, wait a minute. And now you start to have this, okay, well, let me dig deeper. And then eventually, you know, it becomes real clear. Okay, this is really, really special and different than what I thought it was, right? And so for those people out there that think they know what it is, I promise you, listen twice as hard, watch one of the videos, reach out to Mary, reach out to Robert. There's something you're missing if you're not with us, and that's an almost a certainty for most people, I would say. But yeah, so what was it specific? Like, was there something specifically? You mentioned like groups and the fact that like who you partnered with at eXp can make a difference is how I would maybe retell that for people that didn't know what you were saying. But was that the piece of it? Obviously, you know, you're connected to lots of top agents, but there's a good argument. There's a good argument that you're connected to really good agents at Keller Williams too, right?
Absolutely.
There's a difference. The agents here all have ownership in the company, so the more successful agents are in the company, the more successful we all are. And then there's an aspect of financial gain for those that help others within the company, and that's another benefit for people to want to help other agents. But was there anything more specific than that?
You know, Jay, I'm a really analytical guy. I do a lot of research on stuff, you know, like extreme, and I don't bounce around. I was with KW for 12 and a half years. I just don't like just hop. You know, we all know some agents that just hop every couple of years. So it was, I mean, like every morning when I was exercising, I had YouTube videos up
Mhm.
I was putting in keywords for, everything to do with eXp versus Keller Williams, like just wanting to understand everybody's perspective that I could find. I probably, watched a couple hundred hours of videos out there, just wanted these like unbiased opinions of changes that other agents throughout the country have made. And I really wanted to understand that, and didn't want to make a mistake, especially at this point in my life either, because I've
Right.
worked really hard to build this business, and I don't want to screw it up.
Right.
So when I really broke it down, I said, okay, like there was almost no, when I really like just said, what's the logic here? Like, what's the downside? Well, I could keep doing what I'm doing, if nothing else, and I'm fine. I live a very nice life. I'm not complaining. But if I keep doing what I'm doing and pick up some stock along the way because of the way the programs work, and through the reputation that I've worked really hard at maintaining throughout Southern New Jersey, and just talking to people when I need to talk to other agents, when I need to talk to other agents, they want to listen. I said, well, that could really become something, because I looked at the company and I go, all right, I think 40,000 agents right now, right at the beginning of 2021, approximately.
Right.
So I said 40,000 agents growing fast, but not a really strong footprint right here. There are some, I know some, obviously there's others other than Mary, but a company can't grow that fast and that with that much vigor and not become a player in our market area. It's impossible. We're right outside
Right.
of Philadelphia. There's just no way. So I said, okay, can I be one of those early adopters here to be one of those guys that works and says, okay, I'm one of the people that really gets this model, and let me help everybody that I know change their lives too
Yep.
in the coming years. And I said, well, there's no downside. There's literally no downside.
Yep. Well said.
I mean,
Well said. I
Even
mean,
if no one
You know?
joins you, right? So that was the same thought that I had too. And I think we had that conversation. Even if no one joins you, there's not a downside. That was what I think had to click for me, is that I'm like, I'm not going to recruit. I said that to Jay. How many times did I say to you in the beginning? I'm like, don't
so
talk to
many
me.
times that I stopped trying to tell you that you were going to do it. Like I said, you can't stop it if you wanted to. They're going to reach out to you. Whether or not you answer that phone call like you do a buyer or a seller will be the only difference. And that clicks somewhere for you along the way. Like, these people keep calling me. What do I do with them?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened to me. Because I would say, listen, I'm not coming over here to recruit all my friends. I don't want to talk about it. I don't
Right.
care about stock either. I don't need to talk about any of that. But are you going to mentor me? Who am I going to be around that's going to help me get to a bigger level of my business? That was really why I came. It's not that I wasn't looking at it, because when I looked, Robert, and we talked about that, at the people who were most successful at our last company, the ones that are the most successful were the ones who were here first. So I did have a feeling it would naturally happen, but it definitely wasn't my focus. So the reason I started speaking was when we talked about the downside, I knew I would icon. So just the fact that I was going to come here, I was going to icon, I was going to be aligned with people like Jay, who had sold 500 houses a year. And there's a lot of people in our group at that level. It just didn't make any sense at all that even if no one followed me, which I had a feeling they might, because I know that I have really good relationships, even if I spent zero time on that, it was still not going to be a downside. So that's why I did it. For the same reason you said. I'm like, well, I didn't have a reason to say no anymore. Right. There was just no way to say no. And I think when you're at your level of business or mine, that's kind of where it ends up being.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And anyone who's watching this, who's, one of my former colleagues or competitors in this market, I'm not going to harass you. That is not what I've got into this for. I'd be happy to talk to you if you guys want to have a conversation, but I'm not that guy. I think you guys know that about me. I'm just not, and I'm not the cold call guy. I'm not that at all. I'm just someone who really works really hard every day at maintaining and growing my business, and just trying to do the right thing through every relationship and every transaction. And I'm realizing that, I'm realizing that now. It took me probably over 10 years to come to that realization that there's leverage in that, and doing the right thing every single day.
Yep. Absolutely. an opportunity for you to also, add value to the community of agents that, you've done business with over the years. And, we've all gone through, the learning of growing and growing the business. And there's always people that we can give credit to that's helped us, along the way. And now we have an opportunity to do that for other people. And that's really what this is all about. Is this is a business model of abundance and adding value to people's lives and helping people accomplish their goals and then having a really nice compensation where they don't have to pay you for that help, but we get paid on the back end through eXp, and it's that's a special thing, and we get to work with people that nobody and to your point, Robert, I haven't made not one cold call to anybody about eXp since I joined, and I was just on a call with someone else that said the same thing. Like, I haven't made a phone call to anybody. I haven't made one outbound call. There are some that are doing that and reaching out and just trying to recruit that way. It's not the preferred method, I would say, for anybody to do it that way, but that unfortunately does happen. But yeah, it's for the people that are, if you're not happy if you're not where you want to be with your business and you feel like the three of us may be able to help you, I think it would make sense to have a conversation. One of the things that Mike always says, we always say yes to opportunity. We say yes until we have to say no. I'm going to continue to say yes, which I'm going to continue to look at it, continue to look and listen and move forward with an opportunity until either I know that I have to say no because it's not in alignment with my vision where we were trying to go, or it makes sense to say yes. And so, this is an opportunity most people don't understand. We've got to spend a little bit of time looking at it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think people just think that, right? They think that you're going to cold call them, like you just said, but no one called me. Not one person pitched eXp to me. I saw people like nationally that moved over, and then Jay, I Googled and just kept finding you. So I just reached out to you on Facebook. That's how I ended up. That's how I found the person who sponsored me, was because I kind of saw the model first.
You're my favorite story, Mary, because you're doing a phenomenal amount of business. You're busy, and I don't have time for all that. Like, you wanted to know, how was I going to coach you? How was we're going to help you grow your business? Because you weren't getting that where you were at. You kind of reached kind of the pinnacle, and you were looking for that. Where do I go now to get to the next level? And I think you realized that we've helped a lot of people get to that next level, and we could probably help you. But you were dead set on, like, I'm not doing recruiting. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. But again, you haven't, right? Like, people just reach out to you. I don't know how many people have joined with you now, but it's quite a few. And that's going to turn into more and more and more. And it just naturally happens. This is the kind of a business model that attracts people to it, and it attracts the right kind of people that are hungry to grow, abundant mindset, smart. Because if you're at least a little bit smart, it kind of makes sense. Like, it's kind of hard to logically say this is not a good move for you. It's not a lateral move like what most people think when they first look at it. It's definitely a vertical move to a better place.
For sure. And people do watch, and they're going to watch. And Robert coming over, I'm so excited about this partnership with Robert, because him and I couldn't be more different. I think if you were to look at me and how fast I grew my business, I could be more of a wild card. Maybe I would take a risk. They don't know that I actually really am very analytical, and I did look into it, but I could see people looking in. Robert is a stable, steady top producer over years and years and years. He's not going to be someone who would take a risk. So for someone like Robert to make a move like this, there has to be a really good reason. So anyone who's looking, who thinks that we just came here because we're trying to get rich off revenue share, like, my business is going to double in 2021. Like, you should see my business now versus where it was last year. And I can't wait to see what Robert does with his. We're business focused. That's really always going to be the focus until it doesn't have to be anymore. And there's actually an exit plan here where it doesn't always have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
But for now,
those are really good points, Mary. I think that the similarities with us are that we're both like gazelle intense with our businesses, but we're so different from a personality standpoint and what we're willing to do or not do to grow our businesses. We're just totally different personalities, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to align with you. Jay, obviously you're a big factor in it too, clearly. But when I looked at the opportunity here, and knowing you, Mary, and then knowing that our circles immensely overlap, I literally just thought, and this, we talked about it, but I thought about this before, and I go, well, I don't want to compete with Mary. I'd rather see the synergy develop. I mean, we compete on listings, I'm sure, there's no doubt, but I don't want to compete with Mary and the opportunities to grow the brand in Southern New Jersey, because I think that together, you know, if we're both focused on the same thing, it benefits everybody. So,
Right.
you know, rather than be cutthroat against each other. Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of how I looked at it, and I said, all right.
No, now it's a partnership, and it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a partnership, and it feels like that. And we talk about the energy, and we talk about our group. The thing is, we don't make $1 million off of one person coming over. We don't make a ton of money off of that, right? But the energy, this like, it just changes the whole energy of the company. So everyone's collaborative. Like if I ask a question in our group, I'm under Jay. No one else in our group makes any money off of me. But if I ask a message in our group, they send me a DM. They're willing to hop on a call. They want to help me because the culture here is just a culture of giving back to each other and a culture of collaboration. So it's just a total, and that's what I was looking for. The other part is so much more exciting than I expected it to be. But that wasn't why I came over, right? And then now you coming over, and I'm seeing exactly what Jay was trying to tell me, that I was going to laugh. I said, don't talk to me about it. He said, you're going to laugh about that in 2 years. Well, if I could show you how much money I have in stock, I didn't care about that at all. I don't care about stock. Don't try and sell me on that.
Exactly. You said it just like that too. I don't care about the stock. Don't even try to talk to me about the stock.
Don't talk to me about it. Like, I pretty much know what I want and what I was looking for. So that stuff, I wasn't expecting how much that was going to mean to me.
Right.
And I can't wait, Robert, for you to see it.
It's a brilliant business model. I mean, I say it all the time. I mean, I just kind of shaking my head like, wow, how did he put it all together like this? And the evidence of it is in the culture, because that's not what happens in other companies. I mean, you have some people that are abundant and that'll get up in front of the office and teach and share some things or whatever. But that's kind of, those are people that are getting kind of penalized to have to do that. Sometimes, you know, they're getting asked a lot to do those kinds of things to help agents, and there's no compensation for it. Now there's just some compensation and reason for you to do those types of things. And it attracts people that want to do those types of things too. Like, you know, it feels good to help people, you know, and help them with their business. When you've been so successful and you know how to do something, it feels good to help other people. And, you know, when there's alignment there like that synergy, that culture of giving that you mentioned, Mary, it's a special thing you can feel. Like, it's different. It's not like anything. And we could never convince anybody of that, right? Like, you just have to experience that. But I mean, I think if you're an agent that's hungry, I see a few people making comments. Benjamin, it sounds like he's hungry. If you're hungry and you want to do more, there's a lineage of folks here that have an incentive to help you eat. So we would love to help you grow your business. We'd love to help you problem solve for how to get to the next level in your business. You should reach out to Robert and Mary, and we can get on a call. They can get on a call and include me if that's necessary. One big fire. We put all our fires together and make one big fire together at eXp.
Yep. Hey, Mary, I got a question for you, because I don't even think in all our conversations I actually asked you this. What was the decision for you to come to eXp? Something had to happen, or maybe it didn't. I don't want to assume anything, but something had triggered in your mind where you go, okay, let me look into this. You know, I guess almost a year ago. What changed in your mindset where you said, let me look into this model? And then what was the follow-up question is, what was the biggest challenge that you had in making the move for yourself, you know, and leaving where you were and you were comfortable?
Yeah. For me, it was, I was looking at it for a year. I reached out to Jay in March of 2019, and he was the first conversation that I ever had about it. I saw some people nationally move. No one local that we really knew. No one from our company at all. But so I started watching it. So I would say the first thing, when I really wasn't going to do it. I was happy where I was. But in 2019, I didn't hit my goals. So I didn't hit my goals in 2019, and then I was starting over in the beginning of 2019, or in the beginning of 2020, I was starting over, and I didn't know how I was going to hit them in 2020. And when I looked around me, I didn't know who was doing it at the level that I wanted to get to.
Right.
And I had a maps coach for 3 years already, and that wasn't it. I had taken bold 6 times. That wasn't it. Like, I was doing everything I was being told to do. I don't think anyone tried to follow the model of KW harder than me. So when I got to the point where I wasn't hitting my goals and I didn't know how I was going to, that was really, I think, what made me start to look and start to notice that there was people who were just doing well somewhere else. And so then it just was a perfect storm. There was a couple little things that happened. That was the main thing. I was starting over. I met with Jay. So I looked at it for 11 months. So I know I met him. I talked to him first in March, and I really started looking at it then. And then in 6 days, I actually made the move. So it went from like looking at it, and then I just once you see, Jay always says that, and I feel like it's cliche because I hear it constantly, but it's like once you see it, you even said it, you can't sleep at night. Like you're awake and you're like, wait, but how does this not work? Like, let me just, that was really it. And then did you have a follow-up question that I missed?
Well, how was it?
What was the hardest part?
Yeah, what was the hardest part about making a break for you?
So 2 things were the hardest part. One, the relationships I had at my old company. I still am very, very high agent referral business. I was like, and I have and it's not because of the business as much as it was the friendships and the connections. I was afraid of being rejected by people that I loved by moving to eXp, and they were afraid I was going to walk into a room and just try and recruit them all. That was probably why I was so dead set against that part of it. It was because I knew that's annoying. And I didn't want anyone to worry about that. So the hardest part was people thinking eXp was just a bunch of agents who didn't sell any houses and just tried to recruit agents so they could make money off of them. And the other was just the relationships. I was afraid I was going to lose them. I'll tell you, I did not lose one relationship that I cared about. Not one.
Sure.
And not one person has not invited me to an event or a mastermind or a dinner because they thought I was going to recruit them. So those were my 2 biggest worries. Neither one of them is a worry at all now. And a lot of those people are watching and they'll be over here, but I'm not going to talk to them about it first. I'm going to wait.
Yeah. Right.
So that's it.
Yeah. Sometimes we talk stuff into ourselves. We make up stories in our heads of what's going to happen. And the hardest part, I think, for us as humans and our programming is to catch ourselves and put ourselves in a state of awareness and adjust the story. Because if we're going to make up a story, well, then just make up a good one. Stop making up a bad story because nobody knows how it's going to play out. So let's make up a good story.
Yeah, Robert, you dropping some serious knowledge there. That's I say that all the time to my wife. You understand? Like she worries, she has anxiety all the time about things. I'm like, listen, that's a made up story. Let's just make up a better story, right? Like let's just make a story like that's not going to happen. Why not? Because it's made up. Because it's not real. But that's there also another point I would make too, Robert, was there was a lot of misinformation around eXp. That was another thing, and y'all's market specifically. It seemed like there was just a lot of the key leaders in other companies, rather than spread the truth, they would just make things up, or they would be told things that were not true, and that's what they would be telling other people. And so a lot of people don't have the right information about eXp. So it does require you to invest in a conversation, invest in taking a look at the business model and trying to really do it with an open mind. If you do it with an open mind, you got to put your ego aside, assume you're wrong. Everybody, I can't remember who it was I was just talking to that was, they said, they were on the IV drip for Keller Williams. Like they weren't drinking the Kool-Aid, they were on the IV drip. And I was like, that's funny because, you know which ones you are when you're that, right? Like love KW. And then all of a sudden you see it, you get it and you understand. You're like, okay, well, I thought I was in love. Maybe it wasn't love. Maybe this is better over here. And, it's hard for some people to go through that, but you have to be able to put your ego aside and say, assume that you're wrong. And you're thinking there must be a better way. And you just have never thought of what it would look like. And then look with that awareness that that your newfound awareness that you have, it'll be real hard for you not to see how life could be better, how your career could be better, how your future could be better by partnering with us at eXp. That's what I hope you will find.
Yeah,
Gary Keller's the reason I started looking into it.
He's the
reason. I was on an IV drip too. I had a MAPS coach for 3 years. I went to every single national, regional event, bold, every time they asked me to take it. I thought I was going to die the last time I took that class. I was already killing it on the phones, and now I'm taking a whole class learning how to be on the phones. I did everything. ALC, taught every class I could for free. But Gary always talked about eXp. And that's, and then I saw people like Dan Beer, who I'd see speak, and like Dave DeVoe. So when people say it wasn't sustainable, which is what I kept hearing, Mary, it's not sustainable. That whole thing's going to fall apart. I'm like, but wait, that guy sold 500 houses last year.
I see going over.
So that's what I kept seeing, right? So it's not a risk anymore. So people who think this isn't sustainable, they think it's a penny stock. I'll tell you, it's definitely not that.
There's a
any
lot
of
of
those things that people are still saying, they're just not true, and it's proven now. So there's no reason to even say it anymore. They are still saying it in our market. I think, Robert, with you coming over, they're going to have a little less leverage to say that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's interesting. I didn't have the IV drip. I was there for 12 and a half years, and literally when I came over there, it was just, there was no research. I was at a mom and pop, and someone said, you should check out KW. Checked it out, met with the team leader. I'm like, okay. Like, there was like not a whole lot to it because I wasn't extremely serious about my business at that point anyway. I was involved in a few different real estate activities. So I went over there, and what I felt very shortly thereafter, and still to this day, there's certainly nothing bad to say, but I felt that it was a great decision when I went over there. I felt that it was a great fit, and I got very involved. I was involved in the ALC for about 9-10 years. I was an ALC member. I taught classes when the time permitted and had a lot of awesome relationships, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I always kind of ran my business my way within the constraints of the industry, and then was that maturity level where about a year and a half ago I just started thinking, is there more? It was like, well, in some of these videos that I've seen, I think the analogies are right when you talk about like Netflix, right? Like 10 years ago, Netflix didn't exist, or was that CD, right? You had to go, or DVD, you had to go get it at the supermarket vending machine, right? I'm like, what the hell is this? Or you had to mail it. You had to mail it.
Right, you have to mail it in.
Yeah, I was like, what? Like, it's weird. Like, this is like stupid. You have cable TV. What do you need that for? But then it evolved, and it's the same kind of thing. I think that one of the ahas was this company is what, 10 years old, Jay-ish?
Yeah, 2009, so 11 years.
And it was designed literally with COVID-19 and designed for it because it didn't miss a beat, I'm sure, because of the way it's designed and everything being out there in the eXp world and the cloud. And sure, every brokerage in the country is adjusting to that, or the world. I get it, but it was kind of built with that foresight. So they're geniuses,
Yeah.
I mean, the guys that built this and
yeah.
designed it,
It's like to see that in 2009. And actually, I was listening to the Bezos letters, a book called the Bezos letters. And in the very first Bezos letter to the investors in, I think it's 1997 or something crazy like that, 98, he lays out Amazon as it is today in 1997. You know what I'm saying? Like, how crazy did you have to be to believe that you were building what you built and then go build it like that? It took a lot longer probably than he thought it was going to take. But to have had that vision, and Glenn had this vision. Like, the more I've talked to him over time and gotten to know Glenn, he saw what he was doing, and he knew it was going to disrupt, and he knew the people that were going to join and help him grow the company. But he's brilliant. But in 2009, we had an iPhone that we were on our second iPhone at that point, right? The little bitty ones. There was not a lot of we weren't, there was not a lot of apps you had on your phone and that you were using on. You had the handy level and stuff like that, but not a lot of real innovation around thinking about having a real estate services being provided through a cloud-based application was just crazy at the time. It's obvious now, and it's super obvious once people join. You're like, yeah, I really don't need to drive into a bricks and mortar office to get answers to questions. I don't need to drive into some brick and mortar office to get trained, because obviously you can get more training, and 55 hours of training delivered by the top agents in the company per week, because it's a cloud. You can do a lot more client training. It's a lot easier, more efficient to do that. It's not efficient to do that in the bricks and mortar environment, not as efficient. And
we're also incentivized to do that here. So if you heard Robert say a little earlier, like, I would teach a class when time permitted. Well, guess what? Time's going to permit here, because in order to be icon and to get our full stock bonuses, we have to then give back in a way to the agents by teaching classes.
Right.
So now it's another incentive. You don't feel like you're just wasting your time or giving back for no reason. One, we love to do it anyway, but now it's guaranteed that the agents listening in are listening to from an icon agent, and they're guaranteed they're going to have enough icon agents willing to do it, because we get the rest of our stock back in order to do it. So that's another really, really smart thing that they figured out.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you're gonna teach classes because we're gonna make it so you're gonna want to teach classes, and it's fair. Everything's a win-win. Everything is a win-win. Everything around everything, and that was what I was looking for. So and it gets more exciting for me. I'm going to be a year and a month in 1 month, but I'm excited for you too. So I love that part of it.
Yeah.
Because I would get so mad at our other company. I would teach classes because I didn't want to see the new agents learn from someone who sold 4 houses last year. Because it was kind of like, hey, who will teach the open house class? I'm like, damn it, I'll do it instead of that person. They can't teach them how to convert a lead to an open house. But now it's, it just would make me mad. I just couldn't stand it. But here it's all icon agents. You have to sell at least what? Like 40 houses or 35 houses?
Yep. Yeah, so, it's literally a built-in mechanism to have the top people in the company helping everyone else in the company. Like that's a good thing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a brilliant model, no doubt.
So hopefully if you're watching this and you're interested, you're like, okay, I give up eXp, folks. You guys have always coming after me. I'm going to look at it. Reach out to either Robert or Mary and just have a conversation. They don't bite, so just ask questions. The best thing you do is ask questions. And then for yourself, ask, if I was going to make this work, how would I? Because when you ask that question, you start to see, okay, well, if I was going to do this, this is how I would do it. You start to find the right answer instead of, not the answer you're looking for. So any last words you guys would have, you want to share with somebody, or how should they reach out with you? How do they get a hold of you, Robert, or Mary? What would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Sure, Mary, go ahead.
So I would say just go on that worst case scenario. Worst case scenario for me was I was going to go back. I think I could go back tomorrow and they would welcome me with open arms. I'll tell you that I'm definitely 100% not going back. But yeah, you can DM me, call me, text me, and Robert too. Reach out to Robert. We're a team. So, if you go with Robert, you get us both, and you get Jay too, and our whole group, which I wish I could introduce all of them to you in this live, because it's a pretty amazing group. So, reach out.
Awesome, guys.
And Robert will definitely call you back. I promise.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. I'll definitely call back. Yeah.
Love it.
And I'll put the conversation in the vault. You don't have to worry.
Right. Yeah. That's always helpful too. Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, appreciate it. Appreciate everybody hanging in there with the technical challenges we had there at the beginning. We're looking forward to having a conversation and genuinely looking at how can we be partnered together and do more together than we could apart. So looking forward to having that conversation. You guys have a great day. Appreciate it. Again, welcome aboard, Robert. It's an honor to be in business with you, and I'm looking forward to serving you, helping you with any way we can to grow your business and enterprise as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay.
Awesome. Thanks. You're welcome.